This thing off. Coffee with the Coaches, episode 12.
You got it.
Yeah, I didn't even screw it up this time. Ring the bell, ring the bell. I'm so excited. So, microphone 1, my name's Michael. Microphone number 2 is Paige Aru.
All right.
And we're coming at you live from the Mega Desk.
Megados.
And I think
Alive.
we're going to have to start kicking this thing off with a dad joke. We talked about this when Sam was on the podcast a couple episodes ago. And then we just forgot about it for a couple episodes. So we got to bring it back. I know I texted you the other day and told you to have one ready. So I gave you some homework.
Yeah. You did
What
good
you got?
homework.
If this better be a good one.
I have a good one to say right now. And then I also have one of my favorite dad jokes for like going down the road.
Okay.
Like one of the car jokes.
The floor is yours. Let's
Okay.
give it your best shot.
What do you call a hippie's wife?
A hippie's wife. I don't know.
Mississippi.
And this works well because you and Ryan both have family in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. All right. Why do melons have weddings? Because they can't elope.
Oh my god. I always want to like think about it and try to figure out the answer before, but I'd be here for like 5 minutes trying
Yeah.
to think about it if not.
All right, what's your second one?
So like whenever you're going down the road and you see a graveyard and you're like, guess how many people are dead out there? And then, my brother used to get me with that all the time. I'd be like, I don't know, like 300.
So the answer is all of them,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Well,
So you could get your kids with that one if you're a real dad.
yeah, so I guess that makes me think of the last thing that my grandpa said before he kicked the bucket. I know that it's kind of in the same. I feel like it's usually a downer when I tell this story, but you segued well. But the last thing my grandpa said before he kicked the bucket was, Michael, see how far I can kick this bucket.
Oh no. Is that a Michael joke or
No.
is that a real
That came from
story?
the internet.
That's bad. Shame, shame.
All right, well, let's see. I'm thinking we've got a couple of things to talk about coming up, some relevant
Yeah.
stuff. I know we've got the Open starting next week.
If you don't know what that is, go back and listen to our episode about the Open.
Do you remember what number that was?
Nope.
Yeah, we did do an episode it was the one with Heather Williams. So
Oh, yeah.
we talked pretty in depth.
It's in the
about-
title. Just read the title.
Yeah. But that one starts next Thursday. So the first Open starts next Thursday. And we kind of hashed out the final details about how we're going to handle that here in the gym this morning. So I think we're definitely going to do the Friday night lights on the first one. And we got some games lined up. We've got some fun get-together ideas lined up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
I'm going to try to make these even more fun than what we've done last year. I'm going to fire up the barbecue grill and have some reasons to hang out a little bit longer than just the events. So Friday night, we'll try to make it a little get together and have a fun reason to show up and hang out.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk more about it as it gets closer. And then let's see, you and Ryan have got a
I have
vacation.
FOMO about that.
Yeah, because you and Ryan have actually got a vacation coming up. You guys are going to be
Yeah.
out of town for this first one. Where are you guys going?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica? And then I guess you guys are going with Mike and Brittany. So
Yeah.
is this?
So we're going to take a lot of the morning crew away.
Are you guys staying at hotels, or do you know any people there?
A VRBO. No, we don't know anybody there. We've heard a lot about Rodney, the guy that takes care of the house, so I'm excited to hang out with him.
Is he one of the locals?
Yeah.
That's really cool. I've always liked going places to where there's some semi-locals there, and I'm not just a tourist that has no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. We're not. I don't think I mean, it's like a touristy area, sort of, but we're not like in a town or anything. We're not going to be like around a lot of other tourists.
Yeah.
I guess.
I really enjoyed Costa Rica when I was there, and I don't remember what year it was, but it was actually for college. We did a little sort of you might think of it like a mission trip, but it was a save the sea turtles type of thing. And so we went with the college, and it was a really cool experience because it was all was pretty much all locals that we stayed with. We had local tour guides, and we stayed at essentially families' houses and things like that. It was really neat.
That's cool.
Got to see some coffee farms, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It was neat to see how the whole coffee process works. So if you get a chance,
Nifty.
you can try that out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We've been trying to find some things to do, and Ryan's just like, I just want to sit at the house and not do anything. I'm like, you do that
He does
here
that
in
at home.
Missouri. So that's a good idea, though. Maybe we'll see if we can find a tour to go on, like a coffee tour.
It seemed like that was a pretty decent kind of a tourist thing. Like they had a whole tour lined out where they took us through the coffee plantation and showed us how everything grew, and then all the way up to picking and roasting the beans. Like they showed us the whole operation. It was really neat.
Nifty.
I would recommend.
Cool.
Well, let's see. I guess we've got a couple of topics we can touch on today. I know you hit me with a really good one this morning. I'll just let you take it over because you had, I think it's a question you get sometimes or a response you get. So where are we going with this one?
So I kind of thought about this. I've thought about it multiple times because I've heard this response a lot of times whenever mid-workout I'll approach somebody who, the form might be falling apart in the middle of a workout. So I'm just like, hey, spend a little extra focus on, maybe it's like bracing your core during burpees or something like that, not just getting totally snaky and, that puts you at potential injury risk if after reps and reps and reps. So something like that. And usually the response is, I know, I'm just getting really tired.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, that's exactly why you should slow down and focus even more on your form, because that's when things can go wrong. And so I think it's a good time to kind of hit on approaching your workouts with intent and purpose, and not just going through the motions and essentially worming your way through or just flopping your way through, rowing, burpees, whatever. This can apply to absolutely anything. And so one thing to really, really focus on whenever you approach a workout, this can improve your fitness as well as your performance. So just all around, this is going to be beneficial for absolutely anybody, is to maintain focus on your breathing and on your bracing. Those are two main things that are going to skyrocket your performance in absolutely any movement. Rowing, for example, if you just start to kind of get lazy, hunch over, let your breath get away from you, all of a sudden you're working 10 times as hard to do half the work.
Yeah, things are getting sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like you're getting tired and you let a lot of that bracing go, but actually you're just making it harder on yourself.
Exactly. And just think about this, if you're really exhausted, so you just start cranking back and forth and you're just kind of rolling your body into it, forward and back, slouching into that row stroke. If you would slow down a little bit, take a deep inhale and brace your belly, and then really drive through your legs and lean back with that core braced, all of a sudden you don't have to do quite as much work to get that extra, the same stroke per minute or I'm sorry, the same meters per hour or meters per, what am I trying to say?
No, I think that makes sense.
Is it meters per hour? And the same calories per hour.
Calories per hour.
Or a minute.
Essentially the
500.
same output.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't have to work quite as hard to get that same output. The same can be applied to wall balls, to running is a really big one. If you just kind of get sloppy on running, all of a sudden you get more and more out of breath and your legs start hurting or your joints start hurting because you're just kind of flopping back and forth as you go through your run strikes. So this is just something that applies all around everywhere. When you start to get tired within a workout, don't let things fall apart just because you're tired.
Yeah. Don't just keep going just for the sake of going.
Exactly. Slow down, focus on doing things correctly, and then as you find that correction, then start to push the pace just a little bit and maintain it as much as possible. This is how you get from good to better to best. You really, really dialing in and focusing on your actual movement patterns.
Yeah, I try to think about that. I try to stay thinking about that during my workouts. Is if I feel things getting sloppy, I try to slow down or stop so that I can regroup and then pick back up with whatever I'm going for. But I think intention is the real good word here. maintain the intention. Maintain the intention of whatever it is you're going for. The intention of the workout. The intention of the movement. The intention of the exercise. The intention really isn't just keep going all the way through with sloppy form or technique. Like the intention is, it can be a lot of different things, but it's never sloppiness. I can promise you that.
Exactly. And two movements that come to my mind that that we see this a lot from can be like handstand walking, and when we do single leg deadlifts. Like single leg deadlifts is one of those things that it's so valuable. It's so beneficial for absolutely everybody to do, but it's just so hard to get people to just slow down, do it correctly, get rid of the weight, actually focus on the movement, actually focus on feeling your glutes and your hamstrings and the outside of that hip working to help move you up and down. And that's one thing that just, sometimes I'm just like, come on, just do it. Just slow down. Just put the kettlebell down and do it with body weight and try to do it correctly, because you completely take 5 steps backwards whenever you just keep adding weight on and on and on
to something that's sloppy anyway.
Yeah, something that's sloppy anyway. And then you try to go really heavy with it, and then you can't do it. And then the person that has been doing it with intent for so long and actually slowly progressing in the weight all of a sudden is doing more weight than you, and you're like, what the heck? I've been able to do more than them all the time. Well, yeah, you should have slowed down and done it with intent.
Hey, this single leg stuff, I think I was sleeping on the single leg stuff for a while because I was just focusing on the 2 leg things like squats and deadlifts and stuff like that. And then once I kind of circled back and started focusing on my single leg stability and strength, man, it helped me so much. And I've seen that help so many different people once they put their focus into their single leg stability and strength. I've seen some real good gains happen in that way.
Exactly. Lower body and upper body. Yeah.
Single leg, and you're right.
And the reason we do a lot of single leg stuff is, imagine this. If you have a 300-pound back squat and you have a weaker right leg than left leg, all of a sudden you've hit a plateau. You can't progress through that 300 pounds. You've been there for years and years, but you know that when you do lunges or you step up onto a box that you have one leg that's a lot wobblier than the other and not quite as strong. Well, when you take a few months to really focus on that single leg, is that an alarm?
Oh, they're testing the sirens today.
I was like,
yeah, I didn't realize they were doing it down here, but in Cape they talked about testing tornado sirens today at 10 o'clock, and it's 10 o'clock.
Because my watch was just going off with like some alert. I think it was an Amber Alert, and then that happened. I was like, what the hell is going on?
We actually told Amber about that last night.
No, it is a tornado warning right now.
No, it's a test. It's a test of the system.
That's a test? Surely not. I don't think there's any weather going on right now.
Yeah. No, they talked about that yesterday.
Test.
They should be more clear about this being a test, because they announced that yesterday they were going to test at 10 o'clock. But yeah, the alert it's sending on the iPhone does not look like a test.
It's 10 anyway. Okay. Yeah, it's sunny and 40 degrees outside. I don't think we have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Anyway. So where was I?
The carryover from single leg
to the double leg.
To increasing, if you strengthen single leg stuff, how valuable that is to actually increasing your double leg.
Yeah. So if you bring up that strength on the lagging right leg, all of a sudden you get back into your back squat and you feel so much more stable and comfortable on both legs. Bam, there it is. You're just going to soar through that plateau that you've been hitting. So that's a huge thing to really, really focus on, and something that we're learning more and more about this here in the next few months, and really hoping to help people out individually if they have these if they're unsure whether they have any strength imbalances from side to side, or need maybe some extra mobility in order to get in certain positions. Like, we're here for that, so let us know.
Yeah, that's one of those things that if you don't do a lot of single-sided movements, you probably don't realize how out of balance you might be just with your strength from one side to the other. So that's one of the things, like you just mentioned, we've been digging a lot more into recently. So
yes.
Yeah, it's good. Have you personally seen any? I guess you've always kind of focused on that single leg stuff more, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I noticed a lot probably in my deadlifts because I started implementing a lot more single leg strength in lower body pulling. I could use a lot more in upper body. I know that's when I'm definitely lagging in just because I just love to do lower body stuff.
Yeah.
But I have seen that happen with my lower body. So, I mean, I implemented a lot of single leg deadlifts just over the years, and whenever I just went for a 1 rep max deadlift one time, I was able to pull like 325 or something.
It just
after
shot way up. From
when
what
I
you had done
yeah
before.
when I thought my max was like 285 or 295 or something. So that was pretty cool. Then it's just kind of climbed from there because I really spend a lot of focus on the single leg, at least a couple times, or single leg, single arm a couple times a week, and then also doing 2 feet on the ground for some things.
Yeah, I've been putting the focus into the lower body stuff, single leg, for quite a while. And ever since I separated my shoulder a few months ago, that has forced me to do the single arm stuff with my upper body. And so I'll be interested to see once I actually start pushing heavy weights or pulling heavy weights with my upper body again, how it fares, because I haven't really done a whole lot of barbell bench press or things like that, but I've been doing a ton of single arm stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as I go through it.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I really feel like I'm back to like 95% now with my shoulder, so it's come along really well.
Cool. That's great. All right. What else are we going to talk about?
Well, I know we had another topic that we thought might be interesting to talk about, but it was what got us into this? What got us into fitness, and more specifically, what got us into the fitness industry, like coaching and CrossFit and all that. And it's one we had done a couple of years ago. I think we made a video about it a couple of years ago, but I thought it would be an interesting one to revisit in podcast form.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because we don't have
kind of like where did the journey start? How did we get started on this path?
I like it. You have a pretty interesting story of how you got started.
Well, I know that fitness has always been a big part of my life ever since I was a kid, because I know growing up I never did get into video games too much. I was always the one that was trying to do things outdoors, and basketball was a big part of my teenage years. So I was always active. I got into cycling, I think after I graduated high school. I got into cycling, and there was a big mountain biking scene down in Arkansas where I worked at that time. And once I moved up here to the Sykeston Cape area, there just wasn't nearly as much mountain biking, so I kind of got away from cycling for a while, and then ended up with my first real job, I guess, and then just kind of let my health go for a couple of years, and ended up with a health scare when I ended up with cancer in my neck. And so I think that was a really good thing for me at the time, because it really snapped me back to reality and made me see that I've got to be proactive about my health. So at that point, I really got back into much more of a fitness focus and started paying more attention to the gym and being regular with my exercise instead of just kind of willy-nilly activity where I could. I actually got a lot more focused with it and got into martial arts right after that, and then that only lasted for 6 or 8 months because my instructor moved away. And so I was looking for something to fill that gap and found CrossFit, and I've stuck with that ever since, because it just so happened that Muddy Water CrossFit was opening up in Cape right around that time. So got in with them and tried it, loved it right away, and the rest is history. I mean, it's just, there's been a whole lot of things that have fallen into place to kind of get us where we are. And I mean, it's a long story, and it's kind of funny to think back on that now. But yeah, I think the cancer thing was really good for I know it sounds crazy to say it that way, but I think that was really good for me because it forced me at a young enough age to realize that I had to really stay on top of my health and fitness because it can get away from you quick.
Yeah.
So I think, and I hear that a lot from people, you know, whenever
it's never too late, by the way. There's no young enough.
Yeah. But I hear that type of story a lot from different people where they've had some kind of a health scare. And, you know, health scares are health scares. You know, it's different for everybody, you know. But it's just something that kind of snaps you back and realizes that you're not immortal. You know, you do have to pay attention to things or it'll get away from you.
They can all be just as scary.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's it's funny how those types of things turns out to be blessings in disguises.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What made you want to open your own gym?
I think it was a lot of just the right place at the right time things that happened because I was finishing up my business management degree. I'd been coaching CrossFit up in Cape for a while, and it was just a lot of taking advantage of the opportunities that were in front of me because we had several members up there that had family down here, or some of them that even actually drove up to Cape for CrossFit. And, you know, we had been talking for a while about, a lot of them had been saying, yeah, I wish we had one of these in Sikeston because I hate driving all this way just for a workout and all this, but it's worth it. And so after talking about that for a while, we started looking at different opportunities, and, you know, the time was right for me because I was kind of in that transitional period where I was graduating, and man, I made probably all the wrong mistakes or all the right mistakes over the course of the way, but it's taken some time to figure out.
You went through the new business owner phase.
Yeah, I guess everybody does. But that being said, this is March the 2nd. We've got our 7-year anniversary coming up on April 1st.
Oh my God.
And I was actually running those numbers yesterday and saw that April 1st will be 7 years for when we open the doors. And I know your CrossFit anniversary is April 10th. And so I was just looking at those numbers and realized that you were one of the first people that came in through the door.
Yeah.
And here we are 7 years later.
There it is.
But
that's awesome.
How about you? What got you started in all this?
Well, high school I was pretty active. I've always been kind of naturally strong, and so I just found a love for lifting weights and stuff. And we had one really good strength coach in high school. He was like our athletic director. Shout out to Ryan Garnett. But he actually got our volleyball team into the weight room and trained us pretty well from the start. I mean, you know, it certainly wasn't like we were all like slinging big weights or anything, but you know, he was teaching power cleans, we were benching, we were squatting, we were deadlifting. Awesome. Yeah, we were doing a lot of stuff. It was kind of a little ahead of the curve for what happens in a lot of high schools now, especially for a tiny town like Richland.
Yeah. And
so I really love that. And then I just started going on my own to a gym in Dexter, probably at least twice a week, but I tried to aim for like 3 or 4 times a week outside of seasons whenever we weren't, or like over the summer break and stuff. And so I just enjoyed it from the start. I just like to lift weights. And when I was in high school, smartphones were kind of becoming a thing, so I could kind of do some research and figure things out on my own beforehand. And I've just always kind of been that kind of person. I just like to figure stuff out for myself.
Yeah.
And so started doing that in high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, honestly. I went from like wanting to be a lawyer to go to journalism school. I still like to write. And then I was like, well, I guess I'll just go to like occupational therapy school maybe or something. Like I didn't know. I was just like, I had different interests and stuff. But I literally am so grateful that I kind of landed on occupational therapy. That way it kind of put me in the track to become a coach. Because while I was in school for OT, or I was beginning my prerequisites, I guess, for OT, I did some shadowing, kind of hung out in some clinical settings, and it was great. Like, OTs are angels, PTs are angels also. They're all just great. They're so patient. They work with some some people that really don't want to be helped, and that
Oh,
can be
yeah.
frustrating. That can be extremely frustrating. But I was just like, I don't enjoy this.
So OT is occupational therapy,
therapy,
and
yeah.
PT is physical therapy.
Yeah, very similar, but they have some differences in things that they do. Occupational therapists usually kind of help people get back to work, or just kind of do, I don't know, there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
But
But they're usually there for insurance requirements. Is that right? Or
yes.
I guess not to get off on that rabbit hole, but I can
That's
see.
That's true. That's how it is for a lot of people. Unless you're
Yeah.
just like in a sports specific setting, which is, had I continued down that path, I would probably be in a sports setting.
Yeah.
But I was like, I enjoy the flip side of this so much. I wanted to be on the prehab side of things, not necessarily the rehab side.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of in that gap where I'm like, I want to help people who are athletic or want to become athletic, but they're kind of suffering from some sort of limitation, injury, whatever it may be, and to kind of bridge them from that PT setting into an active lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of what happened for me. I traded I was kind of on track to go to school for exercise science because that's kind of the bridge to OT or PT. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I'm really enjoying this. So I just continued and finished that degree with as many nutrition classes as I could underneath it. And so just kind of went to school in the exercise of science, the science of exercise, I should say. The science of exercise is what I literally studied. And so I just absolutely loved every second of it. Once I continued down that and didn't decide to like branch off and go for one or the other. And, I worked at Lambert's for a long time, was going to the Y, and I guess, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I just saw it when I'm scrolling Instagram or whatever one day, CrossFit, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And then I was like, I wonder if Sikeston has a CrossFit gym. So then I looked it up, and it just happened to be around the same time that you had just opened.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is one. How did I not know about that? Like, I thought it had already been here for a little bit.
You were literally 10 days out.
Yeah. So then I dragged my friend Robin that used to go to the YMCA with me. I used to just imagine like he's like 6'2" ish. He's about your height, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
he's an MMA fighter.
240, 250 pounds probably. I mean, he may have been even bigger than that. But yeah, I used to drag him to the gym because he didn't, like, he knew what to do, just nobody really went with him. And I was somebody that would go regularly.
Yeah.
So I drug him into CrossFit. And then, the rest is history.
Well, I just realized how many different workout partners you've had like that. Like you grab somebody and say, "Come on, we're doing this."
Yeah.
I know that sounds, you take that for granted, but that's really valuable to people. Just having that fit friend. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go work out today.
Yeah.
But I guess Rob was that one.
Uh-huh.
I know you've had Brittany.
Yeah.
Brittany was your fit friend.
Yeah.
I know Ada's kind of the one you drag around now.
Yeah.
That's funny. I hadn't thought about that.
Brittany's still crushing it. I don't know about Rob. I think he started driving a truck and he's living happy.
Yeah, he's happily married now. I'm sure he doesn't care.
He's happily on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brittany's still crushing it at home with the babies.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about Ada having kids, so I can keep her.
Well, what was it about CrossFit that interested you back in the day?
Honestly, I'm sure it was just aesthetic. I'm sure I saw like all these people doing CrossFit, and I was like, "Ooh, I want to do that." It just looked really cool, and the people looked awesome that did it. So I just wanted to do that. That was kind of before. I mean, I was still fresh into school. I was still planning to go for OT at that point. It wasn't until like a year and a half or 2 years later that I decided that I wasn't going to do that. So CrossFit kind of helped me make that decision.
Yeah.
Because I guess I had kind of drugged people around, and I realized that I enjoyed helping them. I enjoyed teaching them and showing the movements, and I enjoyed figuring those things out to relay to other people. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, I think my story was probably pretty similar because, when I was trying to find my workout routine and find something to stick with, I was doing the same thing. I was just trying to find a buddy to go with me. And I went through so many different workout partners because, I'd have somebody that would stick with me for a few months and then they'd flake out on me, so that I'd try to hit up somebody else and be like, get them in on it. But, I'd gone through 3 or 4 different workout partners. And then, so I was really happy when I found CrossFit because it was, the program was there. I knew I just had to all I had to do was show up, and then I was going to have some other people there doing the same thing with me, no matter what it was. Even if it wasn't the same person every day, at least I'd have somebody else there doing the same thing with me.
Yeah.
And that was so super valuable to me at the time, and still is to this day.
It is very.
Because, it's just, man, everything in life can get in the way, and you can find so many reasons to get away from it. But when you've got just the accountability and the camaraderie of other people around doing the same thing at the same time, that helps so much when the motivation fades away.
Right. Because it will.
Yeah.
Motivation inevitably goes away, so you just have to create those habits in order to keep going.
Well, what do you think about it over time? After 7 years,
oh my gosh,
what do you think about CrossFit 7 years later?
I freaking love it. I love.
Well, how has it changed? Like, how has your relationship with it changed, or like your impression of it changed? What would you say is different now as opposed to 8 years ago?
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely work out more. So I go through phases, there's certain phases where like I want to be kind of competitive in something, or I want to just kind of work out and enjoy life and just have fun with the workouts, or I want to compete in something else. Like I've done CrossFit competitions, I've done the powerlifting competition, I've done arm wrestling matches, just everything, just different kind of feats of that. I've discovered that I'm not afraid to try new things because CrossFit really opens you up to that. Because, I would never.
That's a good point.
I never would have walked on my hands or tried to do double unders. I would look at that from an outsider's perspective and be like, I don't like jumping ropes boring. But then you start doing double unders and you're like, this is fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of like Dr. Dave was talking about on the podcast. He was talking about these chances to experience a first in adulthood.
Yes.
So yeah, that's
exactly. I probably never would have started riding my bike had you not ridden your bike all the time, and then and I wouldn't have gotten a nice road bike and just ride around town just for fun. So things like that. But CrossFit in particular, I think my view has changed in the sense that I guess I appreciate more just working out for general health now than just to do really well on everything all the time. Or, I don't care about being in the gym for 2 hours a day like I was when I first started. Now I'd rather just come in, get a good workout in within 45 to an hour and go on about the day.
Yeah.
And not have to sit on the couch for 3 hours because I'm so exhausted.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, I think what you said about trying new things, I think I can definitely saw that in myself as well, because you are, introduced. You are introduced to a lot of different movements and stimulus and things like that in CrossFit, and you kind of get more comfortable in weird exercise positions or different things that you wouldn't be doing if you were just going to a regular gym.
Right.
And so
bear crawls.
Bear crawls. I mean, I know that sounds like such a silly toddler movement, but man, it's so valuable.
It's so valuable.
And just things like that, it definitely has made me a lot more comfortable with trying new things. And sometimes I take my own fitness for granted because I just did CrossFit for 6 years, I guess. And I'm definitely not a competitive guy by any means, and so I've never really gotten my rush from doing competitions in any way. But when I got into jiu-jitsu right in the very beginning, it really made me feel good when I recognized my fitness for the first time in a while, because most of the people that were getting into jiu-jitsu about the same time as me, they didn't have a steady fitness routine like I did. So I took my own fitness for granted until I got into jiu-jitsu, and then realized, I'm in better cardio shape than I thought I was. I'm stronger than I thought I was. And so it was nice to try that new thing
Yeah.
with my CrossFit Fitness.
Yes, exactly.
And then that has carried over to cycling. I got back into cycling over the last couple of years, and I don't know, just being out and moving around and doing outdoor activities. It's really nice to have that foundational level of fitness that I have gained from CrossFit, even though I don't do anything competitive. It's nice to have that.
You gain an appreciation for so much more when you have that active baseline. Like, you know, if you're normally kind of a lazy person and you don't really get out and do much, then when your family wants to go on a hike or something, you might be like, oh, I don't want to go, because you know you're going to get out of breath, and you may not enjoy that because you haven't practiced it. You haven't practiced getting out of breath and moving up and down, climbing, things like that. And so you start to fear those things, or you start to just like not enjoy them because you haven't practiced them.
That's a really good point. Just being out of breath on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah. Like
that's way more valuable than you realize.
If you don't experience the act of getting sweaty at least like 2 to 3 times a week, you're missing out on so much. Like, you need to get comfortable with being sweaty.
Yeah, and that right there, it makes, if you don't do that semi-regularly, then it makes feeling sweaty, it makes it feel uncomfortable.
Right.
But there's really nothing wrong. I mean, there's nothing bad about that. It's just if you don't do it ever, then when you do it,
you're like,
it feels uncomfortable. You're like, I feel gross.
Right. Exactly. And it's so funny because, like, I'll think back of, you know, when I was younger in high school, kind of before I developed a love for working out and stuff. Like, if I ever got sweaty, I would just feel like so nasty. Like, I gotta fan off, you know. Like, but now I'm just like, people get sweaty. Like, it's a natural.
That's good.
It's a natural human thing. Yeah. So, kids, there's so much value to this, and it lasts forever. Like, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are. You have to practice, you know, you need to appreciate your relationship with the floor, with tall objects, things like that. Like, practice getting up and down off of things, getting on the floor, crawling around on the floor. Like, that's the number one thing that seniors get into pickles with. They'll fall down and can't get up. Like, how many people do you know have fallen down, broken something because their bones are so fragile, or just aren't able to get back up? Like, that is preventable. It does not have to happen that way, but people just can't appreciate that and can't understand that, you know, weight training, people for some reason think that weight training is going to cause you to get there before you should be there. Like, no, that's exactly what weight training and exercise prevents from happening. Like, it is so preventable, and just I can't stress that enough. Like, and it's so underappreciated just in so many communities. Like, even with doctors, they're like, well, you better be careful. Like, they'll deter elderly populations from working out because they think it's going to injure them. Like, sure, you can get a quack trainer just like you can get that same quack doctor. And so you have to understand how to find the correct person, or somebody at least with good intentions, who will be open to say, you know, I don't know, but I'll find out, and to help you the best way they can.
Yeah, I think the fitness industry and the health industry are doing better about coming together and recognizing the value of each. But yeah, there's been this void for far too long where the health industry has tried to talk people out of being fit, almost, it seems like. But I do recognize that it's getting better, and I'm very optimistic for the future.
Yeah.
But your point was really good about recognizing your relationship with the floor and tall objects and movement in space and time. And I think that's really a great way to visualize it. I hadn't thought about that, but that is good. And it's one of those things that, I guess, it's another one of those things that we just take for granted until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's why we like talking about this stuff, because if we can stay ahead of that and try to continue the conversation to where we can point out the value of putting yourself in these situations before you have to.
Yes.
Because that's when things go wrong, is if we're going to end up in those situations at some point in our life. And so how can we better prepare ourselves for when things go wrong? And it's, I don't know, that's so much of a vast spectrum, I guess you would say. But that's what we try to do with CrossFit, is just find ways to use resistance training to make ourselves a little more durable and a little more able to enjoy life a little better because it doesn't wear us out so bad.
Right.
A little more resistant to injury.
And to, as the Bubs collagen brand says, die young, as old as possible.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty,
Bubs Collagen.
Yeah.
Man, we're accidentally shouting them out. We need to.
Oh man, if they would sponsor us, please sponsor.
I'll have to look them up.
I would shout them out all the time. Love it. That's good stuff.
Is that a supplement company?
Yeah,
Okay.
collagen protein company. They give part of their proceeds to I think either Wounded Warrior it's the foundation. Bub is a he was a killed in action. I can't remember what branch he was in, but his buddy started this collagen company in his honor, and they send 10% of their profits to the foundation for it or whatever. So it's a great company, and they have good quality products, and there is a lot. There's not necessarily any valid long-term studies on collagen, but there is a lot of anecdotal and promising reports on it, just from what has already been kind of founded. And so good for the joints.
Well, you can send our sponsorship check to 207 North New Madrid Street, Sikeston, Missouri.
I'll tag them in the thing. But yeah, so I love that saying, die young, as old as possible. And that's just another thing with being preemptive about all those things is make sure that you don't always take injury as an excuse to just stop doing anything, because injury is not the end all be all to ending your fitness lifestyle. Career, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. You can come back from injury no matter what it is. Think about all these Olympic level competitors at certain things who've had hip replacements, they've had knee replacements, they've had shoulder reconstruction. Like, it's not the end of it. And so it's just so important. The human body's amazing, and it can bounce back from so much.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do.
Yep.
Well, got anything more to say about that, or should we wrap it up there?
I think that's good.
All right.
Yep. And get pumped for the Open.
Yeah, right around the corner.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm excited for it. I've said this already, but I'm glad there's only 3 weeks this year.
Yeah.
I think that'll make it more
I really
fun.
like that. I think it's gonna be. It'll give it opportunity to be really fun each time.
And if you haven't had a chance to check out our podcast where we talked about the Open, check that out. If you got, and I know somebody will say they don't have the time to listen to the whole thing. So if you just don't have time to listen to the whole thing, send me a message. I'll give you the cliff notes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get a much better conversation if you listen to the whole thing. And if you made it all the way through this podcast, we're at like 40-something minutes. If you can listen to this one, you can probably listen to that one.
Oh
too.
yeah. We might break this one up.
All right, let's cut it off there.
Okay.
We'll see you guys later. Bye.